Right there.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Let's Talk Lake County. I'm your host, David Rich. And we're going to kick it off with Adam Schiff, not the California representative, but the owner of Germano's in Mundelein, McHenry, and Kenosha, Wisconsin. Also my employer and all-around great guy. What's up, Adam?
Not much. How are you?
Good. Okay, so we had some technical difficulties. Something happened on my side, and that's why I tried testing it, and then I had to send a new link to the viewers because we're on a totally different thing now. It was
Oh,
crazy. So I don't know if that had something to do with your problems. I'm not sure. The universe is a very odd place. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about, since this is a show specifically about Lake County, about the people, the businesses, the events, politics, and anything else I can think of. Being a small business owner, what that's like in Lake County or just in general, the pros, the cons, the trials, the tribulations, the advantages, so on, the perks. And then after that, I want to talk about how COVID impacted you, because I know the restaurant industry got hit pretty hard, but I'm not sure how I'd hit you because you have like deliveries and pickups and stuff like that.
right.
But so start with just like telling us like how'd you got involved in like wanting to own a pizza place and that kind of thing, and the long journey to now.
Sure. So for me, the journey began when I was 15 years old. I started in the pizza industry, and that was it for me. I mean, I started washing dishes, then I started making pizzas. I was working, probably against the law at the time, but I was working over 40, 50 hours a week at 15 years old.
Very much against the law, yes.
Yeah, very much. Very much. But I definitely chose, I loved it. And there was something about it that just, it felt like home for me. And it was just a great environment. So I definitely worked my way up from there. And by the time I was 17, I was managing a location. By the time I was 19, I was managing multiples. I became a corporate trainer for the franchise and trained new franchisees. I ended up working my way up to vice president of operations for the entire chain. And then I just decided I wanted it to be more of, while it was fantastic working for somebody else, and myself and Rod get along extremely well, I decided I wanted to do something where I'd have more control over my own destiny. And in order to do that, you have to own your own business. And that's when I decided to start purchasing them, and then bought the Mundelein and McHenry locations. And from there, the Kenosha the Pleasant Prairie location owners wanted to retire. They approached me about buying that one. I felt like it was a great fit. So I ended up purchasing that location. So now I have the three. I did purchase a fourth along the way. You know that story, and that is not didn't end for me so well. But back on my feet and back to three locations instead of four. Comfortable with it, and it's been a journey, I'd say, to say the least. There's lots of ups and downs being a small business owner. I think you ride with the downs to enjoy those ups. And you have to remember that when you're in one of those down slumps, that there are ups around the corner, as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing and in the restaurant industry, there's really only two things that keep you afloat. It's your customer service and your food quality.
Right.
And we live and die by that. So that's how we stay afloat, and we stay competitive. Obviously, there's other back end stuff that matter, pricing, advertising, all these other factors. But if you have a happy staff and happy customers and good food, I think you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty much the formula. And location fits in there somewhere too, but yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And I was really impressed with like how well you do, because you have really high quality food. The pizza is great, and the other items are also very good. Because Mundelein is specifically Mundelein. Like growing up, it's just a very pizza competitive sort of town.
Yeah.
With Bill's and Rosati's and Gilmer Roadhouse and Hits and blah blah blah. And so you really stand out amongst that. You're standing on the shoulders of giants, my friend.
Yeah, well, we love to compete against them, and we have, and we've won every time. So I think we've 3 years in a row, the District 75 Steam Foundation, they've hosted these pizza throwdowns where hundreds of people come and vote on. I think there was 11 of us or 12 of us last year. I mean, it's all the big guys, Giordano's, Lou
Mhm, mhm,
Malnati's,
mhm, mhm.
I think
Oh, we
Lenny.
know, right? Those two, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody was there, and we always win. So that's good.
It's good. Yeah, really good pizza. There's no doubt for sure. That's very cool. And yeah, so let's talk about COVID because I know that just smacked the crap out of everybody. Is especially small business owners. I mean, I don't even know. I don't remember the number of businesses that, or the percentage of businesses that went out of business, but it was sizable. It was tangible, and it's really a shame. How did you survive that?
Yeah, so I mean, it forever reshaped the restaurant industry as a whole, I believe. I think we're still seeing a ton of those effects today. As far as pizzeria owners, I don't think we bear the blunt of the the business decline in during COVID because mostly I would say the people affected are going to depend on their dining business.
Right.
While we were very heavily dependent on our takeout delivery business, we have small dining rooms. My Kenosha location doesn't even have a dining room, but we basically, I mean, you take a hit and you don't know what to expect. So, like in McHenry, you've seen the McHenry location. It's got what 70 seats total, and that sat vacant. And actually, to this day, it still sits fairly vacant. Like we never recovered our dine-in business. But what we lost in dine-in, we definitely recouped in takeout and delivery. That being said, that also brought on a giant craze of all these other places joining the delivery force where now, I mean, obviously Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, these places, now you can get anything delivered from anybody. So that kind of cuts into our business. So it was like this, it's a double-edged sword. Like we kind of won because we aren't dependent on dine-in. We kind of lost because then everybody else jumped to our business model, which is delivery. But now we're kind of seeing this taper off where we're the Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub. It's not as their service isn't going to compare to ours. I mean, we have delivery drivers on staff that
Right.
our delivery drivers handle the food. We have control over the flow of the food to the door. While DoorDash, Uber Eats, those places, it's basically like anybody can log into their phone, pick up their food, and take it to your house. And I've seen some questionable DoorDash drivers do questionable things where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not I'm not a huge fan. I love being able to have that control over the quality of your product and having more people that you can put on staff that are able to benefit.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I mean, I am, I'm wearing the shirt.
yeah.
I'm one of your delivery drivers, and I just, I was what 2 years ago now, a little over 2 years ago. I was working at a country bumpkin, and I realized that like my time, it's because it's a seasonal job, was coming to an end. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? So as this is during COVID, and I went into your place in Mundelein, and Jerry, I talked to Jerry, I think was the first guy I talked
No, well,
to.
you walked in when I was there. I
I
remember.
remember hearing your voice. He's like, "I'll hire you right now." You know, I'm like, all right, hold on.
No application process. At that point, yeah, the world was a little different there too. What the other thing that happened was staffing was impossible during that time. It was impossible. While we had to stay open to stay alive, and we had to have people employed, the government definitely did incentivize people more to stay home. Which I mean, if that's how they felt this was going to be the solution to the pandemic, great, but it definitely we got hurt on that end because we're competing against the government to keep people employed. And when I believe at that time there was people taking home $900 to $1,000 a week for
Wow.
employment, and it's like even if we match that pay, like why would you want to come to work 40 hours when you could stay home for and make the same money? Like I don't blame anybody for taking that deal, but it did make it very difficult for us um, to keep business going. I worked a lot during that time. I didn't sleep much and I didn't get to I was working 80 100-hour weeks during that time just because staffing was so difficult. We kind of got over that hump soon as I mean it's a world of difference today than it was 2 years ago, three. I mean, it's insane. Like a year ago or a year and a half ago, I'd put out ads on Indeed to hire, and it would always be like you have to pay to put the ads out. I would do it per day, like probably spend about $10 per day per ad. I would let an ad run for 30 days, which you're spending $300, and get
For how
one.
long?
I would sometimes let ad run that same ad run for 30 days, and I would get maybe 1 to 2 applications. And out of those 2, I wouldn't hire anybody. And that was an ongoing process for a while. But now I put an ad on Indeed. I put $10 a day. I shut it down in 2 days because I have 100 applications. So
Oh,
it's,
nice.
yeah, it's definitely changed. Obviously, we're kind of, I don't know if you want to say gone back to that normal, but I will say it definitely forever dented the restaurant industry. And I think we see that a lot. And maybe, I mean, I don't think it's just me, but I go to restaurants often and I always am focused on food and service. And it's definitely gone downhill in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And you're paying a lot more for a lot less in the service and the food. At least that's my experience when I go out to eat. I noticed that it's gone downhill, and ever since the pandemic, we've never really gotten back to that great customer service, great food. But we try to. That's where we try to differentiate ourselves. That we maintain our customer service, our quality. I'm always coaching and teaching everybody. You do whatever whatever is best for the customer. I don't care. Like, we're not gonna haggle over a few dollars. You just take care of them. You move on with your day. At the end of the day, it's my money. I'm telling you, give it away. So please do. So I see that in a lot of places, like the employees. Well, maybe they're taking pride in what they do. By like they're so angry to give something for free, and it's just like, well, honestly, it's just you're hanging yourself up on these little issues that are gonna ruin your day. You could just take care of them, move on. Like, that's my philosophy. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Move on with your day, and we'll take care of you, whatever it takes.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. Is like, it's not my money, it's yours. And, I mean, like that, because I mean, I've had that situation where I'm like, somebody
Yeah,
wants something. I'm like, you think to yourself, I never did it because I was actually really good at customer service. But you're thinking like, you don't deserve this.
right.
This
Yeah,
isn't right. This isn't even morally acceptable.
yeah,
And like, so you get kind of like, zealous about it. But at the day, like, okay, you know what? He told me to do this. It's his issue. All right, just do it. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Here you
yeah. I mean, you can't,
go.
'cause if you start questioning them, like you question one, you have 9 that are gonna leave you. So it's just
100%. Right. And a lot of it is, you're like you said, it's very just sort of small, petty stuff. It's a couple bucks. Who cares? Just
and we find ourselves as owners sometimes, like, you get stuck on that too. Like Julie, my wife, who handles a lot of the customer service, will
yeah.
be she's back there like when we'll get some email feedback or something, and she's pacing around like I have to remind her, and I sometimes have to remind myself that let's just move on, take care of it, move on. Like, well, we this is what we do, right?
Right. I got you. So all right. So you feel as though, or so that you're kind of back to a better place than you were right during the COVID thing. I mean, do you feel like there's more room to grow to get back to what pre-COVID, or do you think you're pretty much there?
It's different. I don't want to say you'll ever get back to pre-COVID. Everything's different. I think you see that in the prices that you're paying right now. It's different in a lot of ways. So it's going to be, I don't want to say like this is a controversy. A new normal is what we're going to have.
Right.
I don't think we're going to see the same experience, the same entire industry as it was prior to the COVID. I think it's shifted, it's changed. People have adapted. I think there was a lot of government money thrown into the restaurant industry to keep people afloat, that kept them afloat for long enough that we're now going to see like these places closing doors. I think we haven't seen the full blunt of everything that has happened because of the dominoes that have fallen along the way. I think there was a lot of missteps, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of things made done in haste because like something needed to happen at that time. And I think now we're going to start seeing some of that stuff unfortunately fall. And I think I've seen I've seen a lot of places close their doors, and so they got this money because whatever. They kept staff on, PPP loans, the ERC credits, whatever it was that restaurant owners received. They took it, and it was a Band-Aid that basically kept them alive for long enough. But now that all these other challenges that have come along since then, I mean, with the prices of goods, the employment shortages, the supply chain issues, that money wasn't enough to help them survive long term. And I think we're going to see even more restaurants close. I think in order to have survived, you kind of had to have seen this and know that you're going to be in a bad spot. And for me, I at least was kind of foresaw a little bit of this, and I knew it was going to be a rough patch and that there's a rebound, but I also knew there was a lot of adaptation that had to be happen for restaurants to survive. A lot of people were scared to raise prices.
Sure.
And I agree. I mean, I hate it more than anything, raising prices, but for survival, you have to. A lot of people in the restaurant industry base their prices on strictly food costs, and they've had these percentage numbers in their head for so long that, oh, well, if I have this percentage of food costs, I'm good. Meanwhile, ignoring the fact that, well, your food costs might be in this percentage that has always been historically good. Your overhead costs have gone through the roof. Your labor costs have gone through the roof. So no longer can you charge based on, all right, well, for example, let's just say it's a third. So 33%. Oh, great. This fries cost me $1. I'm selling it for $3. You can't do that anymore because of the other costs that have come along. Like my garbage has tripled in the course of 2 years. I actually fought with them to get that down, but still, I mean, that's just one example. We in the restaurant industry use dozens of different vendors. All of them have raised their prices. My rents have gone up beyond their contracted rates, beyond our contracted prices. Our lease, like it's in my lease that the rent will go up yearly at this percentage, but they have gone beyond that because they have the right based on costs that they're incurring. So I think there was a lot of struggles in the restaurant industry. I think we're still seeing the effects. I think some of these places are still going to shutter, unfortunately.
Wow.
I'm hoping that we can outlast, and I'm hoping that I've made some good decisions, but you never know. I mean,
right. It is tough. It's very tough. And I hope you survive as well, because I very much enjoy working for you and doing delivery. It's allowing me to do shows like this. That's why I love doing it so much.
yeah.
And I love the people I work with too. I love the staff on the line in Vernon Hills and McHenry.
Everyone except Jose, he's a jerk.
What's that?
I said everyone except for Jose, he's a real jerk.
Okay. Yeah, he's awful, isn't he?
Yeah. I love Jose.
I know. No, he's being sarcastic. Jose is like one of the nicest guys in the world. Well, yeah, like you said, time will tell, and we'll see what happens. And it's just one of the unfortunate things about an economic system like that, the direct immediate cause of inflation is people raising prices. That's what happens. Okay. I mean, there's reasons that build up to that for sure. Obviously, but when you have one major source, like say gasoline companies that raise their prices, now everybody has to, because everybody needs gasoline, right? It's just this trickle effect. What's that?
Yeah, from our distributor, our prices are going to go. When gas prices increase, so do the prices from our distributor, because everything that gets shipped in, everything that go up, our prices go up. It's not like it's just the way of the world. So
right, that's an interconnected economic system, and that's how it goes. Now it's global when it used to be more regional or national. Now, so if something happens in Hong Kong, some markets over here could be affected.
The China markets affect us. Everything affects us. Like our chicken prices, everything will be affected globally. Essentially,
yeah, that's globalization, and we'll have to have you back on and talk about politics someday about my buddy Ben Shapiro. But that's one of the dark sides, the underbelly of globalization, is that sort of fragility, because you just touch the web over here and everything else bounces.
Right.
And there's a benefit to globalization in that there's less war and that kind of thing, and you get cool stuff from all over the world, that's cool. But like one little thing goes wrong and everybody pays, you know. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but well, okay. Well, I think that's good, man, and I appreciate you coming on. Again, we had some technical difficulties at the beginning. Sorry about that, everybody. And part of it was my fault, and something weird happened on your computer.
Yeah, I
But
think it's Apple. I always have problems with it's always the Apple.
oh,
Like
it's Apple. I want okay, yeah. All right, I understand. I never seen
always
it.
Apple. Like every time I try to do something with Apple, it doesn't work like with everything else.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm an Android guy, or the so I like I don't have those problems, but so again, it's great knowing you. It's great working for you. I appreciate everything you do. I know owning a business is tough, especially three. It's tough. So I had an opportunity to buy a restaurant once when I moved back here from Portland about 8 years ago, and I'd been in the industry for a long time as a bartender, waiter, whatever. And I thought about it and thought about it. I had the money, thought about it and thought about it. I'm like, no way. Just because I'm like, personally, I'm just more driven by like interest, like doing shows and stuff like that. I'm not married. I don't have
Yeah,
kids. I
but
don't
it's
have a mortgage.
blood, sweat, and tears in the restaurant industry to squeeze a couple pennies out of every dollar, maybe if you're lucky. So, I mean, what's the fail rate now? It's like 75% of
Is it
restaurants
that
fail
high?
in 3 years.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's too bad.
50% in the first year, 75. So it's a very tough business.
Yeah.
I've been blessed enough that I mean, some of it has to just be luck. Um, not all of it, but some of it is definitely just luck, right place, right time, right situation. So I don't consider myself to be like the ultimate, like I know everything. Some of it is definitely right place, right time.
Well, I mean, timing has a lot to do with that. I mean, yeah, they say the Beatles became famous because of timing. So, I mean, yeah, for sure that's the case. But I mean, don't undersell yourself either. You work hard. You have a lot of business acumen, a lot of business sense. I have a certain amount. We've talked about stuff. I'm like, I remember in the beginning thinking this guy knows what he's doing. That kind of thing. So, like, yeah, I mean, it's a convergence of a lot of different things, but don't underestimate yourself because you do a really good job, and your employees like you, and that to me is a big deal. I've worked for like bosses that are just like nobody likes them. It's miserable. I'm calling in the union. You know.
Yeah, no, I've always said that. I mean, I've always been a worker. I've always worked for people, and I've always told myself if I do own it and I do have employees, I think I have 50, that I'm not better than any one of them. Like I will not do any less than any one of my staff. And then if they want to, if I bathroom needs to be cleaned, I'm going to clean it. If something needs to be made, I'm going to make it. It's not. I think it's a team effort, and like I'm not big on thinking like I'm the boss. I'm the boss and telling everybody like,
right. Right. Did you have any, if you don't mind me asking one last question, like, did you have any issues with like a difference in attitude or I don't know, demeanor from staff when COVID hit? Because like the Great Reset and that kind of thing, and all of a sudden, like the power went from the owner of the business to the
Yeah,
laborers.
that was definitely a learning experience. There was a power shift because people got to make more money by staying at home. They can hold it over. The people who did show up to work though, and I think you'll see it as I've definitely appreciated them, taking care of them throughout the time and a lot of them are still with me that I mean I have shown my appreciation. Plus I was there with them. I'd say the dynamic was weird because of the ever changing like policies and laws that we had to follow and trying to keep all the different employees like, all right, well, this is the new regulation. This is what you got to do. This is when you have to wear a mask. This is when you're supposed to take your temperature. I mean, that caused a little bit of backlash, and we had some because we tried to follow everything the CDC said. We tried our hardest to like just some of it maybe we didn't agree with. Like we're just like we wanted to stay in business, so we're gonna follow total line. But some customer employee negative interactions happened because of that. I remember there was a guy who almost accosted one of our delivery drivers in McHenry because he came back from a delivery. Obviously, like you're not wearing the mask in your car by yourself. Like I don't see why you should. But then he comes into the restaurant, forgets to put the mask on. The customer sees him, grabs the sign off the window that says employees must wear masks, shoved it into his face violently. Yeah, it was pretty bad. So, I mean, we had stuff like that. We had some complaints and some people threatening me as a business owner that, like, I can't, and it's just like, you can't police everybody at all times. Like, things will happen. And I think there was just a lot of divide and like a lot of anger and hate that was just towards everybody. There was it was just ridiculous. The mask crowd, the anti-mask crowd, like like you couldn't win. I felt as a restaurant owner, it was like no matter what you do, you piss somebody off.
That's well said. Actually, it was just very divisive, and everybody was just hysterical. A
Yeah.
lot of people were hysterical over like just stupid stuff. And I'm not gonna tell you my position on masks or anything like that. Again, if we want to come back on, we can talk about that because I did a lot of research on masks. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I was bartending over at Batayo's in Libertyville for a while there, and I remember going outside. He put a tent up outside, and so kind of help people like not have to wear masks or whatever. And I would go out there, and when you're outside, you don't have to wear a mask, even according to the CDC. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't, and like people would like freak out on me, or like freak out's maybe a little strong, but they would definitely call me out. I'm like, I'm outside. Yeah, but you're a staff. I'm like, okay. So like people didn't even know what the rules were, and
No,
they're
it
just
was
sort of imposing their own personal crap on me.
it was crazy time. I mean, you've been in the restaurant during the summer, you know those pizza ovens, how hot they get.
Oh,
I encourage everybody that wanted to force mask wearing to work in front of that oven for 5 minutes with a mask covering your face.
no, it's terrible.
People were like choking and couldn't breathe. I mean, I got to the point, I'm like, all right, like this isn't take your mask off when you're working the oven because it's like you can't breathe like during the summer. But like then it would be somebody if you could see the people working the oven. So then you got customers who would freak out, and then I was like, all right, put your mask back on, I guess. If you pass out, I guess that's
It doesn't do anybody good there. If you're on the floor.
yeah.
So yeah. But thank whomever we're past it, and
Yes.
hopefully we'll never have to go back to it. Hopefully our government learned like how to deal with you thought that you'd think they had already figured it out. I mean, this country's gone through this before. I mean, but I guess not.
We forget history very easily. I feel like in this country, just the history repeats itself way too often, and I feel like it's a symptom of this country.
No, we have the WHO, as an international health force, and like nobody seemed to know what to do. So, they were like back and forth on what they were saying. It was a crazy time, and I'm so glad we're past it.
Yes, we as well. Yes, yeah. Now it's like a regroup, and as a restaurant owner, just moving forward, like figuring out what's the best path forward, and hopefully next year. I mean, it seems that inflation's being tamed a little bit. That we took 7 price increases in less than 2 years.
Can you imagine that? That's crazy.
We didn't. It would maybe one a year, one every 18 months, 2 years, but 7 in less than 2 years. It's insane. So hopefully it's leveled out and we don't have to do that anymore.
I hope so as well, because eventually you get to like a maximum, and like people are like, well, screw it, I'm not doing this. I'm not paying. So
I went to Cooper's Hawk for a pickup order for me and Julie.
Oh, nice.
2 small salads. I got they were very small. 2 small salads, 1 appetizer, 2 appetizers, and 2 small salads to go. And it was like $85.
Oh,
yeah. Like, all right, well, we can't do this.
I hope they were the best salads ever.
No, they were all right, but I was lettuce and dressing and bacon. I don't know. It wasn't anything special.
Yeah, Cooper's Hawk is a nice place, but yeah, that's just stupid. So so we'll see about inflation. I mean, the Fed's doing their thing. I don't know how effective that is. I think that's a lot of like loose correlational reasoning. I'm not sure that raising interest prices actually does much, but I mean, it's going to do something. I'm not sure it's going to affect the entire web. Food prices at the grocery store don't seem to be dropping sufficiently, and gas prices are kind of like still up and down, up and down.
One thing I've learned in the restaurant, at least being in the restaurant industry for this long, I've never once seen a price decrease.
No,
never ever once in my life have I seen prices.
It's perpetual inflation. I mean, why do things cost, what they do now compared to like, 50 years ago?
Right.
Where you could buy a cheeseburger for like 75 cents.
Yeah.
Why is it now $6.75? Like, why is that? And you ever going to see it go backwards? No.
Yeah. And I feel like, well, I got to a point where I felt like I could, then I would consider it, but I never see getting to that point because it's always like, all right, you raise the prices just to survive at this point. And it's like, all right, well, at what point, like if it ever got to like, oh my God, our cheese prices dropped to record low levels and our meat prices dropped to record low levels. And I would still be hesitant because I know the chain. I know that, okay, well, if I lower them next week, those prices could triple. And I've seen it. I've seen where, I mean, the commodity markets just skyrocket out of nowhere. So even if I wanted to lower the prices, I would be too afraid, I think, to lower the prices.
That's interesting. I never really thought of it that way. That like you kind of keep the prices up just as a safety net for the next time it happens, and because it's going to happen.
Yeah, because then you're like, well, if you drop them, that's great, but then you'll have to raise them again, and like it's just you go through the battle. And if people are already used to paying this, like that's why we run. What our solution to that, I guess, would be running specials. So we like where you'll see we'll off like right now we have the 50% off Wednesdays, which we've had for a long time, very popular. But that doesn't mean it's permanent. Like we have it now because we can, but as soon as like it's unfeasible, then we won't have it.
Right. Sure. Yeah, no, 50% off Germano's Pizza on Wednesdays, folks.
Yeah.
All locations. I mean, that's a man. If I didn't work for Germano's and I heard of a 50% off, I would make that night my pizza night every week. I mean, that's come on. How do you refuse that?
Shifted. Like Fridays used to be our busiest night in every store. I mean, sometimes Fridays are, but it used to be a definite guarantee Fridays would be our busiest night. Now sometimes Wednesdays are busier.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Though I will say this Friday was exceptional. This is a really good weekend. So that's very cool. All right, well, that's great, man. And like, again, like, thank you for what you do and being you and, having this business and gives me great opportunity. And again, like I'm the poster boy for like the gig economy. Like I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that and everything, I mean, so it's nice to have these sort of opportunities out there in our system for me to like do stuff. I mean, like everybody, I'm in my 50s. I have my college degree. I could sit in a cubicle too, but I'd rather chew off my own tongue. So like I love that I can do what I do here. And because it's the shows that really make me happy and motivate me and that kind of thing. So like being able to be just, a pizza delivery driver really is very fulfilling for me in a lot of ways. So thank you.
Yeah, well, no, we appreciate you as well. I mean, it's two-sided. So thanks for showing up.
No problem. All right, my friend Adam SChiff, owner of Germano's Pizza in Mundelein, McHenry, and Kenosha. Check it out. Remember, 50% off Wednesdays. Awesome. And again, Germano's like, what was the exact name of the reward or best overall pizza?
That we win at that? I mean, we've won several different things. We won best.
This recent one.
From 1023, that contest we won best. Germano's won best pizza in Lake County. The one that the Steam Foundation, we've won best overall pizza 3 years in a row, and we won best specialty pizza 2 out of 3 years, and then something else we won. And the plaques are on the wall. I mean,
yeah, no, there's lots of them, which is great. It's a testament to a lot of things. All right, sir. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your night. And I'm sure I'll see you around the restaurant.
Absolutely. Take care, Dave.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Lake County. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I will remedy that. Stay tuned for the next time. Take care.